Hey, what's up, guys? Manny here from Waking to the Spirit. Um, that was something I wanted to talk about specifically, guys, but I'm going to talk about something else in this video. And that's the starting of this new ministry that I have. It's been on my heart for a while now, actually, since about 6 years ago when I first had my first real encounter with the Lord. And I want to go ahead and give my testimony just briefly here and let you guys know what's going on. So I grew up pretty much in a not atheistic, but for the most part, most of my family members were not really big believers. The only believer that was really prominent in my family was my grandfather, who was basically like my dad. I called him Dad because he was the only one that was there when I was a kid, male figure. And all my aunts and uncles called him Dad, so I called him Dad too. And he's probably the first one that really believed in Jesus, to me at least, that told me about it anyway. So I was pretty much kind of a weird kid, unusual. I remember having memories of being 5 years old and just knowing that I'd hear them talking, racial jokes and, vulgar jokes with vulgarity and, racial humor. And I remember being 5 years old and knowing that that was wrong, pulling my mom to the side and telling her, that, why are you talking that way? Those people are just people like you and me. You shouldn't be talking that way. And now that I think about it, it's unusual for a kid that age to not, you hear your parents and your uncles and aunts talking and saying, vulgar words about different races, and you're 5 years old. You should be, thinking just the way they are. Yet I was over here trying to tell them that it was wrong. So that was one of the first signs to me that let me know that I wasn't, like everybody else. It was a little unusual. From a very young age, I had all kinds of what I now know to be demonic attacks. Spirits coming to my bedroom at night, doing things and whispering thoughts in my ear. Just a lot of just horrible things that I just didn't understand at the time. I was terribly afraid of the dark because every time they turned the lights off, I would see, horrible visions of things in the darkness, and I never wanted to be left alone. I also had the voices start when I was about maybe 7, 8 years old, telling me to do really, really bad things, and I just thought everybody was like that. I thought it was a normal thing. I didn't think it was unusual to have a voice tell you, go stab your grandmother or go punch your mother in the face. I never acted on it, of course, because that wasn't in my heart. But I had these voices, almost audible voices, telling me to do these things constantly. As I grew into my teenage years, the voices grew even louder. I mean, it was like a cacophony of 20 different voices telling me to do horrible things. And I thought it was just something that everybody had. I didn't understand it until I was diagnosed later with obsessive compulsive disorder, ADD, bipolar, manic depressive. You name it, they would label me with it, because these doctors don't know anything about spirituality or about spiritual disorders. So you can see the light is getting really bright behind me. That happens a lot. Anyway. Fast forward, I meet my first girlfriend, the daughter of my mother, and our relationship lasted about 10 years. Then we split up because I could never get those voices to stop. They were constantly telling me things like, she's cheating on you, she's doing this, she's doing that. They'd show me movies in my head about her doing things that she never did, and it would drive me insane. I didn't know that it was a spiritual attack. I didn't know how to defend myself because nobody ever taught me about the things of God or the things of the enemy. So I find another girlfriend years later who became my common law wife. We were also together for 10 years. And the same thing, these voices were relentless. I mean, the time that I'd wake up in the morning, they would start. Instantly, I would dread opening my eyes because the second I opened my eyes in the morning, they would start telling me horrible, horrible things, delusional things that I didn't understand. Just lies after lie after lie. And eventually, after 10 years, it drove me to the point where I just started using drugs. I started using opiates. And that progressed to heroin. That's the only drug that ever got them to shut up. I mean, I started using that, and instantly they just quiet, silence. So naturally I got addicted to heroin. I used any kind of substance that would just get those voices to stop, and pretty much any drug, got to appease them for a while. Started off with pot, progressed to cocaine, opiates, Lortabs, you name it, I was hooked on them. And I always had a very addictive personality, but I was always very empathetic. I could feel people's feelings so strongly, emotions that were so strong I couldn't, I would break down in tears walking inside a store, or just a word or a melody of a song would just bring me to tears. Things were so beautiful, so sorrowful, it just depended on the situation. But it wasn't until I was 36 years old that I had my first encounter with God. And a friend of mine had told me about Jesus, and I thought it was, it was a nice story. I read the Bible a few times. I was like, that's a beautiful story. I kind of got it, But there was one day in particular, he laid hands on me, which I'd never had anybody do that before, and I didn't believe in it. And he laid his hand on my shoulder, prayed over me, and asked for Jesus to come into my life and to show me that he was real. Before that, I had gone to church. My mom tried to get me to accept him a few times. Every time the pastor would talk to me, I'd start crying. But at the same time, I had this seething hatred for God that I didn't even believe in. And I would go into a rage. I didn't want to hear about him. If they played Christian music, I would just go ballistic. I didn't want to be around it. I just cursed the name of God. I couldn't stand it because I didn't understand that it wasn't me that was acting out. It was the spirits that were inside me. So my friend lays hands on me that day. I come home, and about 10 minutes later, I'm on my knees crying, bawling my eyes out. I'd never experienced a feeling like that before. He calls me about 5 minutes later, and he's like, how do you feel? I'm crying my eyes out, like, what did you do to me? And he's laughing. He's like, dude, that's the Spirit of God. He's touching you. He's trying to get you to understand he's there. And I was like, wow, this is an amazing feeling, man. I can't believe it. So that was my beginning of my journey. Later that night, I remember a situation that just kind of overwhelmed me. I went outside, dropped to my knees, and I just started to speak in another language, which I now know is tongues, my prayer tongues. And I just started speaking the word. I said, Elohim. I kept saying it over and over, Elohim, Elohim, Elohim. And I remember saying, show me the workings of your creation. And the next thing I knew, it was like the sky opened up, literally. And Jesus, I didn't see his face, but I heard an audible voice say, my son, I've been with you since you were a little boy. I've never left your side. I have been here guiding you up to this point. And it all was, for a reason. And I was like, I'm having a conversation with God right now. This is not my own thoughts. This is an audible conversation that's going on, two-way conversation between me and some other entity, some other being that is not from here. It was very clear. And it was made known to me that it was the Father. That's what he said. It was like, I'm the Father. So I asked him, why did I have to lose my family? Why did I have to get addicted to drugs? Why did I have to go through all that? And he said 3 words. It was necessary. He said it was necessary. And he made it quite clear it was necessary because it's going to make you who you're going to be, who you're supposed to be. And I had the feeling of peace that I can't even explain. It just poured over me like from heaven, just down on top of me, poured down like I had never felt this feeling in my life. It was better than any drug I had ever taken, better than heroin, better than, I guess, the best ecstasy, acid. It was amazing. It was amazing. I remember the next day I got in my truck and I was driving into town, and there was 3 white doves that would follow me right inside my window. I'm driving 70 miles an hour, and there's 3 white doves following me along right there, along with the truck. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. Butterflies would fly inside my truck and just kind of fly around while I was driving and fly back out. And I'm going 70 miles an hour, and these things fly inside the window. It was incredible. I'd go everywhere, and it was just a sense of peace that I couldn't even explain. I would hear the voice of God telling me, go up to this person, tell them that I love them, tell them this, that, and I would. Sometimes a little apprehensive, I wouldn't do it. But most of the time I would, and these people would just break down in tears. They would, how did you know that? It's the Spirit was working through me. So this lasted for about 2 years. I was, standing strong with the Lord. I wanted to go to church so bad. I would go 3 times a week. And little by little, I started slipping back into my old ways. I was a musician for 15 years, a rock singer, and pretty successful at that. But I went back into that life, and it kind of, things went downhill. I became even more addicted to heroin after that. Started shooting up, which I said I would never do. And things just really got dark for me. I mean, I was in a very dark place. I went to rehab many times, and I still couldn't shake it. I got to the point where those demons took my experience and just made it seem like it was some kind of delusion. Like, I was to the point where I didn't believe anymore. I thought it was just some kind of psychotic breakdown that I had. And it turns out that no, because one night, years later, after that, I'd gone to rehab. I was on methadone, 130 milligrams of methadone, which is quite a lot for you guys that know about that kind of stuff. And I had already forgotten about God. I had gotten myself into some really evil, wicked stuff. And I felt compelled to start watching those gore videos on the internet. I had no idea why, because I'm a very passive, non-violent person who's never been interested in things like that, never liked horror movies, never liked to be scared. Yet I was compelled to watch these things. And it was like something was watching through my eyes, just like enjoying it. Me personally, I didn't understand why. I was just finding myself doing it and didn't understand, why am I watching this stuff? Like, what is going on? And this demon inside was getting off. I mean, it was like really liking it. It would even say, I love this stuff. And I'd be like, what is going on? Am I going crazy? What is happening? And obviously it wasn't me, because I've never hurt a person in my life. Every time I've ever gotten into an altercation, the person backs down because they get very fearful for some reason. My son says that when I get angry, it's very scary. I guess something about the way my voice or my presence just gets very intimidating. And I'm not a big guy. I mean, I've lost a lot of weight right now. I'm going through like a season right now, so I lost a lot of weight. I used to be 240 pounds before. I'm like 160 right now. I lost quite a bit of weight. Almost died. I don't know how many times, but God's hand has been on me this entire time. There's been so many close calls that are just ridiculously close calls, and I'm still here because God has a purpose. And He revealed to me that there's going to be a group of people in the last days that come out, and they're going to be people like me, the recovering drug addicts, the people that society threw away, never expected anything from them. And we come out and we don't preach any kind of doctrine. We just go and we start doing things and getting them done. We start helping the destitute, the homeless, the widows, the orphans, giving food to the elderly, just volunteering and doing things just for the goodness of God, showing His glory. And there's going to be certain powers that are going to be endowed to these people, to the people that are along with this group. And I'm starting to understand that because it's becoming activated in me now. As you can see in some of the other videos, there's abilities that I never understood why I would have these, because I never asked for them. But all of a sudden, I became able to just manipulate things with my mind, manipulate situations, my reality, the weather, the elements. There's light that will come out of my hands. There's ways that I can just take in the electricity. If you saw another video where you can just kind of take it in and push it back out. Like what works with the sun, the moon, light bulbs, any kind of living creature for that matter. I've never tried to take energy out of another living being, but it's possible. I'll tell you that much. From your eyes, your hands, your fingers, you can take in energy. I've been shown how everything's energy, how I've seen the way it looks like right now in this bathroom. You see the shower curtain, everything will just melt away and you just see the particles in the air. And I've been able to pass my hand through the wall. Things like that are just, you can't imagine that those things would be real. And it's very, very real, because this world around us, it's physical, but it's very much illusory also. It's just, it's kind of an illusion in a way. And like I said, these 144,000 are the ones that people never expected anything from. But we are put through the ringer. I mean, we've been put through hell. God's been testing us trial by fire this whole time. He isolates us, lets people persecute us, mock us, make fun of us, abuse us in every kind of way. But instead of hardening our hearts, it makes us even more open to unconditional love, forgiveness, patience, courage. I've had face-offs, guys, literal face-offs with demonic entities so many times, face to face, right there in front of me. They've lifted my bed off the ground about a foot up in the air, tried to choke me, rape me, beat me in my sleep. So many things. I've seen horrible, horrible things, but I'm to the point where I never had any fear for them. And it's like, why am I not scared of these horrible beings that are right there, disgusting looking creatures, and I'm not afraid of them? It was an experience where they took me out of my body, and they are holding me down, and these demons start trying to basically torture me. And in the dream, I don't call it a dream, I'll call it a waking vision. Because it was real. It's not, if any of you guys have experienced it, you know it's not a dream. This thing is very real. Realer than I'm talking to you guys right now. And I started thinking of the most beautiful, most loving thoughts that I could ever imagine. My son, my daughter, their births. And the more I would talk about that to these things, they would shriek in horror, and they would just get back like if you're pushing two magnets together. It would repel them. That's the way you defeat these beings, guys, is with love. Because they cannot be in the same place. Hate, anger cannot be in the same place as love and understanding and forgiveness. It's like polar opposites. You don't fight them with anger, you fight them with love. But let me get back to the rest there. So anyways, yeah, we're going to be a certain group of people. I know that I'm included already because the Lord's already showed me. And I'm very humble about it. I'm just thankful to be included, and I'm ready to kick some demonic ass. Pardon my language. I've told God so many times, just activate these abilities, Lord, so I can go out and do your work, and I will do whatever you ask of me, because I am so angry at these things. At the same time, I forgive them, and I have pity over them, but they took a lot of my childhood and a lot of my innocence, and I want revenge on these things so bad. They're not human, so, I mean, they're evil. And I'm talking not just evil, selfish evil, or, all about them. So these things are sadistically cruel, evil, bloodthirsty, evil monsters. That's the things I want to take revenge on. And, okay, so we'll go out, and we're not going to be preaching any kind of doctrine. We're not going to be from any denomination, any type of religious sect. It's just going to be real people that go out and change the frequency of this earth and the vibration to bring it into the 1,000-year reign of Christ. Because things are not going to happen the way it's going to happen the way it's like in the Bible, the way it's written, but it's interpreted a totally different way, guys. You got to understand that the Bible is written in a way that people with the ears to hear and the eyes to see, understand it, are going to understand what it's saying. But to everybody else, it's not to be taken literally. The stories, yes, they're literal. They believe that they did happen, but a lot of the things are metaphorical. It's like parables. You gotta really be in the spirit to understand what they're saying. But I'll make a video more on that later. So anyway, God's been preparing me for this for a while now, and I'm still in training. Basically, I told my stepdad a while back that that's why I've been isolated here for so long. And I don't mind it because I know that it's part of the plan. And he said, "Oh, you're in training or what?" And I said, "Yeah, it's like a training. That's exactly what it is." Because I've gotten to the point where I'm used to living with nothing. I don't need to have money. I don't have to have nice clothes. I don't have to have fancy things, cars. None of that interests me anymore at all. I can go even days without even having to eat. I'm to the point where I don't even need food. Sometimes I can fast for 3-4 days and it's not even a big deal, just water. Maybe an occasional, meal here, some very small meal here and there, but nothing like everybody else, To me, to go to the movies is like a luxury. Like that's, something that everybody does. That's a luxury for me. And I'm used to it, and I'm getting more and more used to not having things of the world, when before that's all I cared about. I was very vain, very all about myself. And now I understand that I was just wrong. And I've been celibate for the past 3 years. I don't even desire the company of a woman in any which way, and that's because I used to be a big-time womanizer back when I was in my musician's life. And on the border of being an addict, with women. And it's been for the past 3 years, it doesn't even cross my mind. I've still struggled in the past year with drugs here and there, and that's something that I've overcome many times, and it comes back, and I'm fine again. And I'm still dealing with that, struggling with that, probably always will. But my main vice that I have right now that I still, hold on to is smoking cigarettes, which I had quit about a month ago, and I started just the past week because of something stressed me out, and I just started smoking again. But I know when in time God will, deliver me of that as well. But yeah, there's going to be a big rising up of this army right now, guys, in these days we're living in, a huge rising up. And I want to start this off here where I live in Texas, and I want to call it the Ministry of the Army of the 144,000. And this is going to be the kind of ministry not where, we go up there and preach just straight up scripture and doctrine and then get tithes and then go and live off that. No, this money, if I do start this the way I plan on doing it, it's going to be to go and give money to the poor, give meals to the elderly, to the destitute, the homeless, take care of little kids, mentor little kids that need help, that don't have father figures or anybody in their life to talk to about the things that they need to get out, little girls, and we'll have women in here as well that can talk to little girls. Just get them off the streets and get them focused on good things. Because a lot of people think that once you accept Christ, that's it. You just, okay, by the grace of God. You got to put in some work, like I said before. There's service work. You got to get into doing things for others. That's the way that you truly, heaven is a free gift, but you got to, so a lot of ways you got to earn it. It's not something that you're just going to just ride on Jesus the whole way. You got to put your trust in Him, and He'll change you, man. Oh, He changed you. He took so much out of me. He, like I feel like a tree sometimes. He's pruning me. It hurts, but I mean, it's worth it in the end because it turns you into a beautiful being. And like I said, I've seen this vision in my mind also so many times about those videos on YouTube where there's the people with the hands that are glowing, and they always have the hoodies on. I believe in my heart of hearts that those are the angels. Some of those videos are authentic, and those are the angels that are going to be people like you and I that are going to be put through fire, put through hell, and it makes us to the point where we live completely in our hearts. And when you do that, your vibration raises, your frequency raises, and you start to develop abilities that you didn't even know were possible. And the power of God is absolutely amazing. It is amazing, the things that you can do when God is working on you. And I believe He hasn't even activated this in me, not even maybe 20%. I can imagine when it's fully activated. The power to destroy evil is just, it's mind-blowing. I could live off that and never want anything ever again. All I want to do is be able to provide for my son and take care of my daughter, who's already going to graduate college, and actually next year, she's 22, she's already going to graduate from college. My son's 12 years old, and the only reason I try to work these odd jobs is to have money for him. Aside from me, I don't want for anything. Occasional pack of cigarettes, that's my only thing, but it hasn't been easy, man, I'll tell you. I tried doing the regular church thing. I was the praise and worship leader, and I just saw so much corruption in even a small church that I just couldn't stand it. I couldn't be part of it because I felt like I was being a hypocrite by being in there. Because you see the pastor, laying hands over somebody, saying the name of Jesus, and the guy's hysterically laughing, rolling on the floor. To me, that's not God. You're not going to feel that way when the Spirit of God comes over you. When the Spirit of God has hit me, it's a feeling like of peace, unimaginable. At the same time, it's sorrow that you cannot possibly ever imagine. It's like a mixture of both. But never have I started laughing at the name of Jesus, ever. And when I was delivered that day, so about 6 years ago, I remember instantaneously those voices just were gone. In a heartbeat, in a second, they were gone. Never came back again. All my addictions, my medications I was taking, I came inside and filled the trash bag up with them and threw them away. Never took them again. My anxiety meds, everything, just threw them in the trash. Didn't even hesitate. It was like I couldn't have that in my house anymore. And He delivered me from everything instantly. He told me that it was necessary because you're going to be somebody that's going to be important in those last days. I had no idea it was going to be something like this, but yeah, I wouldn't even speak of this if I wasn't 100% sure. I've known this since I was a little child. Since I was 5 years old, I've known something different. Then I find out later that I'm RH negative blood type, and you know, targeted, all that, those kind of things. I believe, you know, target individuals, a lot of them, they make too much out of it, and then they start manifesting, because we're manifestors. You know, people like that are the elect, we can manifest our reality however we want to. You know, we can do it with our minds, the power of our minds. That's how I'm able to go outside and, you know, just make the wind start blowing, or make the sun clouds part, and the wind you know, pushes the clouds away and the sun comes out. It's not because I'm something special, it's because I'm harnessing the power that God already naturally gives the believers. And I've been able to, you know, utilize my faith to make that happen. Because if you honestly can make yourself believe that you can do something and not have any doubts, you can literally move mountains. Like, literally move a mountain. There's things you can do that I've seen that are amazing. I can't even put in words some of the things I've seen happen. And I mean, the power of God is just, it's amazing. Some people think that, oh, it's Kundalini and this and that. I honestly don't believe that there's any difference. I think it's the same power. Just some people use it for the wrong reason, and they use it for evil purposes. I got into healing. I've been able, every time my son is sick, he had a fever really high a while back. Probably must have been like 104-degree fever. And one morning he wakes up and he's like, Dad, I feel really sick. Can you heal me? Because he knows that I may have been able to do that. I said, I can't heal you. I said, but God will. And I went over there and he was burning up, man. He was burning up. And so I put my hand over his head and felt the most immense love for that little boy that I had ever felt. And instantly when I did that, started crying, his fever just broke. He started sweating, drenched in sweat. And in 5 minutes he was asleep peacefully and his fever was completely gone. That was when I realized that, yeah, this is something very powerful, and it's something that I'm going to start doing in the future and that I want to do. And I would never charge a cent for it. Some healers charge money to do that. To me, that's not your gift to be charging for, because it belongs to Him. So you can't charge for something that's not yours. And I go out of my way to help somebody anytime. You can have somebody that lives 2-3 hours away. If they need help and I can go heal them, I'm going to be there in a heartbeat to do that for them, because that's just, God's put that in my heart. I'm just praying that this ministry gets off the way it's supposed to. I know it's going to, because God's already shown me what's going to happen. And He's made it in my heart, the impression so hard that it's just give it time, and in His time He'll make it come to fruition. All I got to do is just obey and listen to what He's telling me to do. And not obey in the sense that I got to be perfect, because there's a lot of Christians, and I'm not trying to put them down or anything, but they feel that being righteous means dressing up in a suit and tie, never saying a cuss word, portraying this image of perfection. And that is far from what being a Christian is. Christians are vulnerable, real people. Jesus always showed me He's the most real person that's ever walked the face of the earth. And that's how I am modeling myself to be and wish to be more than anything in the world. When I was living that lifestyle of a musician, I was living a Luciferian lifestyle. Big time devilish stuff. And then it's the total opposite now, where I humble myself before Him. I got on my knees and my face every day for a season, and God showed me the truth of things that are going on. Some of the videos I make, I'm not 100% sure on every single theory that I have, but I'm pretty sure, you know, I'm not 99% sure on everything else that I say. And I'll never tell you guys something that I haven't already been revealed or shown myself to be true. So, yeah, it's amazing, man. I'm looking forward to these days when people are wanting to be raptured out of here and this and that. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen that way. So if you're thinking of a tribulation, pre-tribulation rapture, I hate to burst y'all's bubble, but it's not going to happen that way. Everything's going to happen on the earth the way it is. The new earth is going to come about as it is, and it's not going to be literal the way people see it in the Bible. It's going to happen in a different way, but I'll make another video on that some other time. But yeah, if you guys can afford, and if it hits you in the heart and you want to donate to this ministry, know that it's going to a good place. It's not going to be used for anything but the purpose of trying to build this thing up. If I need money for something else, I'll go, you know, do a job or work and do whatever I gotta do. I'm not gonna be like some of the pastors that use the tithing money to make their living. And you know, if that's what they want to do, that's fine, but that's not what I'm about. I'm as transparent as I can be. Otherwise, I wouldn't be smoking a cigarette in front of you, because a lot of them wouldn't even dare do that because for fear of being judged. Nobody's going to judge you except yourself, guys. God doesn't judge anybody. He is pure, unconditional love. That is my God. That is the Lord. He is pure love, and he doesn't judge you. He says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. That's because people don't understand who he really is. When it says in the Bible that the beginning of wisdom is the fear of the Lord, it's true, because you start to fear him, then you look in deeper and get to really know him, and you realize who he is, and you don't fear him anymore. And then he starts to really show you the truth. You have a profound reverence for him. I still get on my face, you know, every day. There's a few days sometimes I forget, but you know, as soon as I remember, I drop to my knees and get on my face and pray in the Spirit, and he'll show me revelations of things to come or things I need to do. And I'm stubborn to the bone, man. I'm one of the most hard-headed, stubborn people that I've ever known, anybody's ever known, but yet I'm still listening to what he has to tell me, and I'm ready to do this. So, I mean, any amount, if you guys want to donate, you don't have to. I'm not making this video to tell you to do that. I'm just letting you know what I'm planning. And what I would like to see is for everybody in their own states or areas, if you are also part of this group, to start doing that also. Let's start this and make it, you know, nationwide, the Army of the 144,000 ministry, and start going out and giving back to our community so we can raise the frequency of this world and rise up against the darkness of this world, man, because there's too much freaking hatred, too much anger and hostility and jealousy around. And I'm sick and tired of it. And it just hurts my heart. So, anyways, guys, that's all I have to say for right now. Jesus is awesome. Don't ever forget that, or let the devil put lies in your head, making you think that there's no God, or that he's, you know, vengeful, or, you know, looking out to get you. He wants you to live your life, be as real as you can be, because he sees right through you. He sees your heart. So you can't pretend to be a certain way. In the Gnostic text, Jesus says, don't do what you hate, because everything is visible to heaven. And he's right. You just got to live and just do what you got to do. Listen to his voice and trust him, and he'll make you who he needs you to be. And it's not easy, and it hurts a lot of times, because he's putting you through flames. Literally, he's like, you're like a lump of metal. He's just putting you through the furnace and burning you, melting you down, shaping you into who he needs you to be. And it's painful, but it's worth it. And when you start really getting activated to the point where you start, you know, seeing the results and seeing things happen, and you're able to lay hands on people and heal them, that's the best feeling that you can imagine. So I'd like to hear you guys' comments. If this video resonates with y'all, subscribe. Any comments are good comments. I don't care if they're negative, if they're positive. Just start a dialogue with me. You know, let's talk about it. You know, your opinions matter to me too, and that's why I'm doing this. I want to, you know, show you guys what I know, hear what you guys know also, so we can work together to make this world a better place, and just kick some demonic, you know, ass, man, because these guys need to be ran out of here. They don't belong here. And I've already seen what's going to happen, and it's not good. It's not good. People are going to embrace this hellish lifestyle that everybody's living, and they're just going to love it. And they're going to be attacking the children, because those are the most vulnerable. And they're going to be attacking everybody that they can get their hands on. So remember, if you're a follower of Jesus and you're not being persecuted, you're not doing something right, guys, because these preachers are preaching prosperity and wealth and health, and that's not bull crap. If you're following Jesus, you're going to be persecuted down to where you're like me, weighing 160 pounds, soaking wet, and tormented constantly. You'll have a peace inside because you know why it's happening, but these demons are relentless. And another thing I gotta say is no fear, guys. Do not fear them for anything. Step outside and face them head on. Don't ever show them fear, because that's how they get a foothold on you when you're scared. There ain't nothing to be scared of. These things are just freaking lunchroom bullies trying to take your milk money. They ain't got nothing on Jesus. They have nothing on God. And they're just trying to intimidate. They'll come at you looking like horrible, disfigured creatures, because that's all they can do. It's just, that's what they look like on the inside. You know, they're spirits. From what I understand, I used to think differently, but some of them are spirits of people who denied and rejected Christ, so they died the way that they are, and that's what they look like on the inside. So that projects on outwardly in ugly, looking creatures. A lot of times reptilian-looking creatures, the serpent. But yeah, they ain't got nothing. Only when you give them power. They don't have anything except for what they take from you. And the enemy is just a collection of people just like that, spirits just like that, that are evil to the bone. And they come to destroy, to kill, to steal, break up families, relationships, friendships, that make you paranoid as hell. If you're targeted, remember that the more you start dwelling on it, the more it's going to manifest in your life, because you're a creator. We are gods. I mean, I don't mean that in a way to say that, I'm full of myself, but we're all divine sparks of God. So that makes us in our own right gods. That's what Jesus said in the Bible. We're all our own. We're not our own master, because we have God as the source. That's the ruler, the master of all. But we're extensions of him. Imagine just a big ball of light up there in the heavens, and then little spider webs coming down, connecting each individual person. It's just all one consciousness, all tied in a different individual people. But we're all one person. Essentially, we're all God, part of God. So remember that you're a powerful divine being, more powerful than you can even imagine. And if you came across this video, it's because you are more than likely one of this kind. You didn't stumble across this for nothing, and there are no coincidences in this world. Nothing is by coincidence. Everything is by design. Everything's already mapped out before we were even born. We signed an agreement. That's what we're going to do, who our parents are going to be, our siblings, where we're going to end up. And we forget it when we come back, when we come here to Earth. And we little by little start to remember. I'm starting to remember a whole lot of stuff from before I was here. And that's an awesome feeling too, when you get to the point where it's so good that you don't even think you're living anymore. It's like so surreal, and you're living supernatural every single day. That's when things start to get really, really cool. And suffering don't matter. I'll suffer for Jesus till death. I've told him many times before, I'll suffer to the death, and I mean that, with all my heart, because he died for me first, died for you guys. So let's be bold, let's be brave, let's rise up against this stuff. I love you all guys completely with my heart, my whole heart. I must stay. Y'all have a great night.